From the News Channel 5 Network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us tonight on News Channel 5. Plus, it is opening day in the minor leagues and opening day right here in Music City. The Nashville Sounds first pitch on the 2022 season about an hour and 25 minutes ago against the Durham Bulls just down the street at First Horizon Park. All the rain from earlier today moved on through. It's a bit chilly out there. Maybe the crowd not as big as it could have been on opening day, but of course that's going to change over the summer as the days get a little bit longer and warmer and people get out and enjoy some baseball as they did last year when First Horizon Park brought more people inside its gates than any other ballpark in minor league baseball. This year, of course, the minor league season has expanded, 150 games. Lots to be excited about. 18 players back from last year, a team that finished 12 games above 500. Rick Sweet, the manager, is back as well. So a lot of things to be excited. And, of course, that is a beautiful, beautiful ballpark. Now in its 7th season. It's actually closer to 8 years old, but this is the 7th season because remember back in 2020, there was no minor league baseball because of the pandemic that summer. Last year, they started late. It was kind of abbreviated as everything went through last summer. And, of course, early on, there were a lot of restrictions on capacity and where you could sit and even masks in the ballpark and some of those sort of things. None of that this year, thankfully. We are through that, at least for now. And it's great to be back at the ballpark like that. Great to be back closer to normal and to be able to have that type of fun. Family fun, friend fun, whatever you want to make it out to be. You can certainly do it at First Horizon Park, and the Sounds are underway this season against the Durham Bulls. We'll get to more on that coming up, but of course, the Predators wrapping up their season, final 14 games of the regular season. The real playoff push begins now. The Avalanche are absolutely running away with the Central. The Wild have won 9 of 10 coming into tonight's game here in Nashville. They're now 9 points up on the Predators. The Blues are 5 points up on the Predators. So as we stand right now, those are your top 3 teams in the Central Division in terms of the playoff picture. Now for Nashville, the Predators are still in the playoffs. Right now, they stand as the #1 wild card. The Golden Knights, the #2 wild card. The Stars, though, just a point back of both teams. Vegas has played 3 more games. So at the moment, you'd probably say the Predators and the Stars have the upper hand for those 2 wild card spots. But it is going to be tight. And the way it looks right now with, 12 to 14 games left, depending on who you are, it pretty much looks like a 3-team race for those final 2 wild card spots in the Western Conference between the Preds, the Golden Knights, and the Stars. So who can play the best down the stretch and who can maximize their opportunities? Obviously, the Preds are in a pretty good position because they're tied with the Stars for the most games left, and they're tied with the Golden Knights for the most points in that stretch. And they have a fair amount of games at home coming up as well. But you got to take advantage of those. And we saw it over the weekend. A loss in Buffalo on Friday night that just can't happen. Buffalo's a bad team. That's a game you got to go on the road and get 2 points. And the Preds lost. Couldn't get anything in the second or third period. That's the type of stuff you have to avoid at this time of year. You have to be better than that. And the Predators certainly understand that. So far tonight, off to a good start. And they tried to set the tone early. Both Michael McCarron and Mark Borowiecki got into fights in the first 3 minutes of the game. They really tried to set the tone against the Wild, that divisional showdown against another team in the playoffs as it stands right now. And it's been a physical game. A lot of guys going to the box here in period number 1. The Preds have made the most of their opportunities. 3 power play goals in the first period. Roman Josi, the captain, got the first one. Ryan Johansson with goal number 2 and goal number 3. And the Predators lead it 3-1 after 1 against the Minnesota Wild. And, of course, the national championship game last night down there in New Orleans. Top seed Kansas number 8 seed North Carolina, but a red-hot Tar Heels team that knocked out Coach K in his final game on Saturday night. Two of the blue blood programs in the country going head-to-head for a national championship. It's hard to ask for much more than that on the first Monday night in April. And it was a great game. Hard to ask for much more than what we got. Two very different halves. North Carolina and Hubert Davis's squad came out and played as well as they could play in the first half. Really upped it on the defensive end. They got efficient baskets. They went on a 16-0 run at one point to really blow things open, led by 15 at the half. And then things completely flipped in the second half. All of a sudden, Carolina lost a bit of its composure. It struggled to get the basket. And Kansas really upped the intensity. Got more stops on the defensive end, started getting to the basket on the offensive end. Remy Martin came off the bench and was absolutely clutch. He hit 4 threes, 2 of them gave Kansas, the lead down the stretch in that game. Ochai Agbaji had some big points, and David McCormick had the go-ahead bucket in the final minute. A tale of two halves, very high-level game, very interesting game to watch. And I will say this at the end, though. Well, it was a great game, and you enjoyed watching it last night. And I thought both Bill Self and Hubert Davis were great in how they coached that game. Hubert Davis had that team incredibly well prepared, and they were awesome. Bill Self made some incredible halftime adjustments and just kept his team in the game when all looked lost at the end of the first half and at halftime. But I think you look at the end of the game and how it played out, and you've got some questions if you follow much of college basketball. Armando Bacot got hurt with about 37 seconds left in the game. He's a great player for North Carolina. Had he scored, maybe it's a totally different game. But he rolls that ankle that he first hurt on Saturday. He was done for the rest of the night, and he turned the ball over. So he goes out of the game now. Kansas gets to set up a play against a new defense without Carolina's best post defender in. And they go right at Brady Manick. And I think if you're Hubert Davis in North Carolina, you've got to know that's coming. And they probably did. But I think here's the deal. In that situation, you either have to go hard with the double team there and force McCormick to get rid of the basketball and make one of those shooters outside deal with you. Or you just tell Brady Manick to foul him. If you get beat down on the block that much and McCormick is posting up essentially right underneath the basket, foul him. Just make him go to the line at that point. You don't have to worry about foul trouble there. You're talking about the end of the game, the end of the national championship game. Just foul him. Make him earn it. Don't give him a layup. Not at that point. Make him go to the line. I mean, we saw what happened between North Carolina and Duke on Saturday night. The Blue Devils couldn't hit their free throws. Tight game, end of the game. Went to the line, couldn't make him. Missed 3 of 4 in the final minute and ended up losing by 4. That's the difference in the ball game. Make McCormick earn it. So I thought that was a mistake. Then Carolina's going for 3. They're down by 3. I get it. But you had time there. You had more than 30 seconds. But they kept shooting threes. Ultimately, while they kept getting the offensive rebound, they eventually threw it away. But I didn't think you needed it. If you got it, fine. But I didn't think you needed it there. And I think they kept pressing and forcing the issue from outside. Go get the 2. Foul there. See if you get a missed free throw. Instead, they got a turnover. Kansas turned the ball over on the inbounds to give North Carolina one last chance. And here's where the criticism I have for the now 2-time national champion head coach Bill Self. So hard to be too critical, right? He won the national championship last night. But here's the deal. You're up by 3. You cannot let them shoot a 3. You cannot. That absolutely cannot happen in college basketball at this point, especially with the national championship on the line. And what North Carolina had to do to get the ball inbounds was perfect to foul. They had to get the ball into Caleb Love, who was running away from the basket. He had to catch the ball going away from the basket if it's back there. foul him right then. Or when he catches the ball and he starts to make the turn, foul him then. You've got time. Don't let him get the shot off. Once he turned the corner, Brown did the right thing to let him go. Love should have gone up with it right then. Once he had that space, he should have gone up with it. Instead, he shot faked. He let the length come back in and bothered the final shot. And, of course, he missed. But I thought that was a mistake. Because if that shot goes in, it goes to overtime. I mean, you never live that down. To turn the ball over in the final seconds like that and then give up a three because you didn't foul, I mean, that's something you take to the grave with you if it played out that way. Fortunately for Kansas fans, it didn't. And Bill Self is a two-time national champion. And by the way, his entire career is impressive. I mean, remember, he had success at a place called Oral Roberts. He went across down there in Tulsa and got the Golden Hurricane to an Elite Eight. He was awesome in 3 seasons at Illinois, had them among the national contenders. And then he's gone to Kansas, and what they've done in terms of winning Big 12 titles, I mean, they win all of them. Since he got there in 2004, Kansas is on an epic run of Big 12 championships. They didn't win last year with Baylor. Every other year they've won. Shared the title, won the title. That is the dominance of Kansas. And I'm not sure there's a streak quite like that in any sport out there. To win that many titles over that period of time with different teams and different players. It's incredible what Bill Self has done there in Lawrence. And by the way, the Big 12 is not like some schlub conference. That league can play. It's the #1 basketball league in the country right now. Baylor won the national championship last year. Kansas wins the national championship this year. That league can play. And Kansas dominates the regular season every single year, basically. That's incredible what Bill Self has been able to do and what the Kansas program has been able to do. But if you want to take it a step further, think about the 2 national championship games that Self and the Jayhawks have now won. He becomes the first Kansas coach to win 2 titles. Larry Brown had one. Roy never got one there. They got one way back when. But Self becomes the first Kansas coach in the esteemed history of that program to win 2. But here's how he did it. Remember back in 2008 in San Antonio? Kansas was taking on Memphis in the national championship game. And the Jayhawks trailed by 9 with basically 2 minutes to go. Yes, they got some help because Memphis couldn't hit free throws. But Kansas stormed back in those finals minutes. Mario Chalmers, Sharon Collins coming up with the big plays, big shots. They forced overtime, and they won the game and the national title in those extra 5 minutes. It was an incredible comeback, one of the great comebacks of a championship game. Well, here we are 14 years later, and Kansas was down 15 at the half, 16 just before the half. It was the largest championship game comeback ever as Kansas came back in the second half. It was a 31-10 run out of the locker room. Outscored North Carolina by 18 total in the second half. And Rock Chalk cuts down the nets as national champions again. But those last 2 titles, title number 3 and title number 4, come in an improbable fashion with Bill Self on the bench. Down 9 with 2 minutes to go, and come back to win in overtime. And down 16 or 15 at halftime, and come back for the largest rally in championship game history to cut down the nets again. Simply amazing. Our phone lines are open tonight. 737-7767 is the number. Call us up if you'd like to talk national championship. We could talk the women's Final Four as well. Talk the Preds playoff push. Talk some baseball. Huge baseball series over at the Hawk over the weekend, dominated by Tennessee in a 3-game sweep. It's all open to you. 737-7767. We'll talk some baseball. We'll talk national championship game and much more ahead on the program. This is SportsLine on News Channel 5+.